Keep an eye out on the upcoming changes. The USDA has announced information on the new SNAP work requirements that are set to go into effect. Many payments worth as much as $1,700 are beginning to go out directly to recipients in just a couple of days. According to Yahoo News, the latest changes to the SNAP program go into effect beginning this September 1st, though some policies will phase in over the next calendar year. SNAP changes were authorized under the Fiscal Responsibility Act, enacted on June 3rd. The act suspended the debt ceiling but also included discretionary spending to caps and changes to mandatory programs to reduce the deficit. It's including work requirements for SNAP. The USDA has released new details on the implementation of SNAP provisions. In a recent statement, the department goes into greater detail about a temporary increase to SNAP work requirements for able-bodied adults without dependents, and the new exemptions for veterans, homeless individuals, and youth aging out of foster care. Currently, adults ages 80 to 49 are subject to a new time limit. This new act says that they are able-bodied adults without dependents and can receive SNAP for only 3 months in the third year if they do not meet their certain work requirements of this. The act gradually increases the age of those subject to the time limit, but the Food and Nutrition Act allows states to request a temporary waiver in areas with an unemployment rate of over 10% or without enough jobs. The USDA also provides guidance on the definition of exempt populations. According to the USDA, a homeless individual is one who lacks a regular and fixed nighttime residence or whose primary nighttime residence is a supervised shelter or a temporary accommodation. Veterans and former foster youth are also exempt from the new changes. All modified exemptions expire on October 31st. Plus, the UA relaxed eligibility SNAP requirements for college students during the crisis, allowing in those on financial aid with no expected family support and anyone who qualified for work-study programs, regardless of hours worked. Researchers estimate as many as 3 million college students were added to the program as a result, but with the public health emergency over, students already receiving SNAP had to recertify in order to stay in the program under the current crisis-era rules. But now, because of this, many food pantries are bracing for a fresh wave of need as hundreds of thousands of people gradually pruned from the SNAP list. Texas SNAP benefits will begin issuing August payments worth up to $1,700 in 1 week, and according to the Texas Health and Human Services admission, vary depending on when you can get your stimulus cash. But the funds are located and loaded onto the Lone Star card, which does function as an EBT card. The payment occurs automatically, so those with a card do not need to take any more action. The low-income people in Colorado who receive the monthly food benefits also expect to see the first payment for August in 7 days. Benefits are distributed starting August 1st and going through August 10th. And things did look a lot brighter for the Federal Reserve than they did a year ago, as the central bank kicks off its July policy meeting today. Back then, when inflation was at 40-year highs and the Fed was sprinting to keep up, things were looking good. We have a ton of views about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. President Biden can actually do this, and very soon we can be getting more stimulus checks for you guys. First of all, a bill introduced back in last month is now receiving a push from lawmakers, and the Social Security Expansion Act, first brought up by Bernie Sanders, seeks to alleviate pressure on America's oldest by providing Social Security with some of the extra benefits. If the bill is passed and signed, then people receiving Social Security payments or who turn 62 years old will get an additional $200 a month or $2,400 a year. Senator Sanders said in a statement, at a time when nearly half of older Americans have no retirement savings and almost 50% of our nation's seniors are trying to survive on an income of less than $25,000 a year, our job is not to cut Social Security, and it is likely the bill will be opposed by Republicans that control the House of Representatives. Without their crucial support, the bill would not be able to be passed at the present, and Republicans have said that they would not cut Social Security, though not everyone believes it. The support offered by the programs is crucial for millions of Americans to live, and according to this press release from the Senator Sanders, nearly 40% of seniors on Social Security rely on it for a majority of their income, and 1 in 7 rely on it for more than 90% of their income. Nearly half of Americans ages 55 and older have no retirement savings at all, and one of the biggest issues is how the plan will be funded. Worries persist that without the further funding, that by 2035, Social Security will no longer be able to claim their full benefit. In March, the Social Security Board of Trustees released their annual report on the financial status of the Social Security trust funds. According to the report, cash for the Social Security program will run out in 2025, And that's just in a couple years' time. If more funds are not directed to the program, there will be big problems. The next payment for SSI is May 1st. You should have received Social Security on April 3rd and SSI on April 1st if you began receiving it in May 1997. Now, inflation's grips on businesses is actually loosened greatly in March. And you should have received Social Security, everybody, many times. But now, folks, the U.S. government said plunging energy prices pulled the producer price index down 0.5% in March from February. It marks the biggest decrease in producer prices in 3 years and follows the reports showing easing inflation on broader consumer prices. Producer prices, also known as wholesale costs, track prices in the production process before they reach the consumer. As a result, the producer price index can nearly provide early insight of where inflation is headed. And lower prices paid by businesses on materials and other items means they are less likely to raise prices in the months ahead. Plus, businesses have spent much of 2022 raising prices on everything from food to clothing to restaurant meals and to even offset higher costs. In many cases, companies register profit growth because of the price increases. Consumers, meanwhile, have become more cautious and even cut spending, much more than anticipated by economists.
Okay, I'm proud to be joined by our leadership team of Senators Durbin, Murray, and Stabenow. So we had a great lunch today, really a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of new ideas on focusing on lowering costs for working families. Whether it's child care or prescription drugs or semiconductor chips or filling up the gas pump, what's on the dining table, cost of food, we're coming up with solutions to address these issues. That's the big difference between Democrats and Republicans when it comes to lowering people's costs. We have real answers. They don't. They just attack. And why don't they have answers? Because much of the time it goes after the special interests that support them. So they don't want to deal with the oil companies or the meatpacking companies or the shipping monopolies. So we are focused on getting costs down, and you're going to see a lot of activity in March on us, from us on that issue. Now, let's not forget, we're a very strong economy. In President Biden's first year, the economy added 6.6 million new jobs, the most ever in a president's first year. But we're not stopping there. Now that wages are going up, we want to make sure costs go down so the average person has more money in her or his pocket. And that's what our whole lunch was about, or most of our lunch was about today. Various members came up with different ideas, and we're going to focus and we're going to come up with caucus agreement on those ideas. Not everyone will agree with each idea, but there'll be large buy-in, and you'll hear a lot about this from us as we move on. And one of the ways we're reducing costs, of course, is the competition bill to relieve U.S. supply chains. That was bipartisan. And on any